welcome to Train Like a Monk. I'm joined today, I'm actually being hosted today at podcast location. We are in Saint-Laurent-du-Var, if I'm saying that correctly.
It's pretty good, yeah.
And I'm joined by Nickolas Zukowsky, or would you prefer Nickolas? Which do you prefer?
It feels better saying it in English, like
Yeah.
you just did, because then it's, yeah.
Well, I don't, if I say anything in French, it doesn't sound too good. But Nickolas or Zuke, we'll go with Zuke for today.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
that's
nickname. We love a nickname. He is the current reigning Canadian national champion. He's hosting me here. Probably the first question. Well, actually, firstly, welcome to Train Like a Monk.
Yeah, thank you.
The first question everyone is going to have is why I'm sitting here in kit and you are not in kit. So we'll cover that firstly before I get into the usual questions. But yeah, tell us why you're sitting here. You haven't done a training ride today or the last week, and what's the reason for that?
Not really, no. I was actually just in Lyon in France yesterday. I just got home and I just had the iliac artery surgery. So yeah, got the diagnosis earlier this season, about end of February, and then because I knew something was a bit off as soon as I started the season, and yeah, eventually just got the surgery done last week. So here we are, few battle scars and limping around, but happy to have it done. So.
And it's something that's pretty common. I think a lot more common than most people probably don't know about it. I didn't know too much about it. I'd heard like the odd story. But when you actually look through the peloton, how common it is, and that's just the ones that have had the operation. There's obviously a few that might know they've had it or might have had it in the past, even had to stop their career without knowing they've had it. And plenty, I'm sure, that have had it without knowing and just struggled when they could have actually had benefits if they'd had the surgery that you've just got. So yeah, I guess it is a little bit more common than what people think. What actually is occurring? Like, why did you have to get the surgery?
So you see, that's the thing. It's such a weird one. Like, it is pretty hard to diagnose, especially self-diagnose, especially. Yeah. So the symptoms, I would say, they kind of probably appear like progressively, because it is, in most cases, some cases it's actually the artery just kinks, from the hip flexion, or because it's just too long, or in some other cases, if there's actually a narrowing of the artery, so the blood flow doesn't get to the leg properly. So that's really what it is in hindsight. Like whatever the issue is, the blood just doesn't go to the leg. So it's kind of a loss of power, and sometimes it only manifests itself like at high powers and stuff like that. And it really gets worse over time. So in the first stages, like for me especially, in the last season or so, maybe even a bit longer, but I would always have something to kind of fall back on in terms of like excuses, I guess, or reasons to explain, like kind of counter performances. But yeah, it's a tough one to diagnose 100%. Like you said, like I'm sure a lot of athletes like just don't even know they have it, or probably stop their career from it without even realizing it. But I would say it is getting a bit more common. Actually, funny story, there's a guy on Arkea. He got the surgery the exact same day as me, like
really
a couple hours after.
Same surgeon.
Yeah, same surgeon. So like a double whammy.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it is a bit more common now, or just better diagnosed, I would say.
Yeah. And you've had the surgery and it's gone all well. So we were just discussing them, but how long do you think before you're back training and then back racing?
Yeah. So it takes a bit of time, obviously, because it is like an artery, and you need it to kind of reconstruct in a proper manner, and it is pretty gentle, but it's a good 3 months, I would say, to be conservative. Obviously, it is like the actual plan is about 2.5 months, I would say.
Yep.
But yeah, it is a solid 3 months before you start doing any proper training. And then the thing too is like once you get back into training, I'm sure there's like an adaptation that the body kind of has to go through. So it's funny, again, it's like it's so individual. Some people like they feel really good off the bat. Some people like it still takes a bit of time for them to like get some proper power back, and it could take from anywhere from like 6 months to almost a year to get like the actual like full 100% capacity, But yeah, it just kind of depends on people, but the actual process right after post surgery is like more roughly 3 months, I'd say.
Yep. Yeah, so I've got some training questions here. If anyone's watched the previous episode that I did, they might know a few of these questions, but a lot of these will probably be maybe a little bit reminiscing because you won't get to train for a while and you won't be able to use them. But
The good old times.
yeah, the good old times when you could train properly. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be back soon enough. So, first question: what is your favorite training session? What's the one that you see it on Training Peaks and you get excited that you get to go out and do that one?
Yeah, favorite training session. I don't know if it counts, but it would be like a fast group ride.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like that's
Yep.
kind of how it started for me in Tucson, Arizona. They call it the shootout. It's like
Yep.
this massive group ride, and at its peak, I'd say probably sometimes like 200 cyclists show up,
Yep.
bunch of pros, and you just kind of a smash fest for like a certain distance, and then regroup, do that. So okay, it's just a fast drive, but
Yeah, I think I would agree. I would agree on
Yeah.
that one. And then if you had to pick one where it's in there, like any interval session or that kind of thing, what would be your favorite out of that lot?
I kind of like doing the high intensity stuff because when you get home, it just feels like you've done some really proper work. There's like this feeling you get
Yep.
that's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, either some sets of like 30-30, 40-20s, so like, on and off, stop start. I find that helps me a lot actually when we get closer to like the racing season or like specific goals. Or I also enjoy doing like the kind of like 1 minute almost full gas type efforts. So you just do like 2 blocks of 5 or so.
Yep.
So that's also a pretty hard one, but I find it's pretty good and specific for what I try and do well in races and stuff. So
Yep.
yeah.
And then going off the back of that, what is your least favorite session?
Least favorite session, probably the combination of like riding and gym in
Yeah.
the same day. I don't know. There's something about it. I probably wouldn't be a good triathlete, but
Yeah. Okay.
just
So
going
you
out the
hate
door
you
a few
hate any
times.
double day?
Yeah,
Anything
double
where you
days.
got two
It
sessions?
doesn't do it for me. So,
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
yeah.
No, that's a fair point. And then what would be your favorite loop? So where we are now is just outside Nice. I know plenty of the loops around here are probably your favorite, but maybe it's somewhere from not here either.
To be honest, I think it's probably one of the loops that we do here because it's such a nice place to ride. It's
Yeah.
such a good place to
And
train.
which loop would it be?
One ride I liked a lot is doing a altitude camp up in Isola.
Yep.
You go around and you basically do like this. It's kind of 6 hour ride. It's a big
Yep.
one, but you go around. It's almost the only loop you can do really up
Yep.
there. But down towards Italy, so that's a amazing descent. Go hit a left turn towards like back into France, and you come over back around the Cime de la Bonnette, I think.
Yep.
Like the highest
Yeah,
paved road in Europe, I think.
Yep.
So that's a pretty
I
sick,
think
sick
is
ride.
the tour going there this year? I think.
Up that, I don't know. They do
know.
go up to Isola, I think. So
Yeah, it has been there in the past, but yeah,
Alright.
I'm yet to ride up there, so I'm excited to try it.
that's it.
I'm planning on doing a camp up there at some point this year. And then what makes it so special? Just the scenery, or
Yeah, up the top there, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's so high. It's like almost seems like a volcano. It's just kind of like a rock peak, like a
Yeah.
dark rocks and
And I'm guessing there's not too many cars up there.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Not much up there.
No.
Okay, when you've got efforts or intervals in a ride, do you like to get them done at the start or save them to the end, or do you try and space them out? How do you structure it?
Sounds strange, but I kind of like doing them at the end of the ride.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a rare one.
I know. Yeah, it's strange, but I feel like it kind of works on like the endurance type of adaptation, like endurance fatigue resistance, and then yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of nice to at the start of the ride for me. It's kind of hard to like really get going.
Yeah.
Need like a proper warm up. Okay, if it's a few hours,
Get
obviously
the
that's a long
diesel
warm-up.
engine cranking.
Yeah, but I kind of like that actually doing
Yeah.
them at the end of the ride. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I've come around to. I used to definitely try and get them all done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But I think when I'm actually fit and going well, then it does take me a while to get the engine moving. And then also I find you've got that fatigue resistance then, and you
Yeah.
can actually do it at the end of the ride.
For sure, to get better, higher quality, probably it's better to do them a bit more fresh and not after a
Yeah.
few hours of riding. But yeah,
Yep.
it's good.
Okay, when you are training and you've got the plan, so you're coached by the same coach that I had last year, Carlos, the head coach from the Q36.5 team. But when you've got training prescribed by him, you stick to the plan at all costs, or do you change it up based on the feelings or based on the conditions that day?
No, I'm a pretty big believer of like having a two-way two-way approach, like two-way conversation about stuff, because you have to be open. Obviously, you get training prescribed, but it's not like set in stone. It's not like a 7-day rolling plan. It's like, all right, from Monday to Sunday, that's like all I can do. And
Yep.
obviously, that's the idea, and then there's like a reason to it. But and yeah, I do try and like just stick to the plan. It's always nice to have everything in green, right, on the Training Peaks schedule.
Yeah.
But for sure, if anything comes up, whether it's illness or other life stressors that kind of impact your ability to train, stuff like that, it is important to like adjust, I find. So yeah, I just try and be open and honest with my coach, and yeah, kind of have a chat every now and then. But yeah, just adjust if needed.
Yep. And when you're riding, you go out solo or in a group, which you prefer? Obviously, your favorite ride is the group ride, but when you're here, do you prefer to train solo or with a group?
I'd love to say I train with people all the time, but I don't really. I train pretty much on my own, I'd say, most of the time. I do have sometimes like this little red dressed chick that rides on my wheel, but yeah,
Lives in the same area, right?
yeah, lives in the same apartment. But no, I do most of my training, especially like the specific stuff. It's just easier sometimes to do it on your own. But to be honest, I'm trying to get better at that. But just to reach out and like have people to train with and just go out, even if you do have intervals, you like use the climbs to do them, regroup and whatever. Because yeah, it's just nice to have people to chat to and like enjoy this beautiful place with, with others.
Yeah, I have seen you honestly riding with. I see you riding with a different person. It seems to me like you're riding with a different person a lot of the time. But you
like it, but not
yeah,
that much.
you also have the advantage of you're probably lucky here that everyone in Nice is either an expat, like someone from an English-speaking country, or a Frenchman, or some Canadians. But so you're lucky that French is your first language. So I guess that opens doors to speak to anyone out on the road as well. So
it helps. Although if I just speak as a Quebecer, they will not understand what I'm saying. So
you have to put on a bit of a French accent.
Yes, the French from France.
Yep. Okay, early morning training or pro hours? What time do you like to roll out on your ideal day?
Early morning, but in the last year, I have started to go out a little later, and now I don't really mind it. Before, if it was like, if noon rolled around, it's like there's no way I could go out training for some reason. This weird psychological tick. But now, actually, I really don't mind. Like, I could go start a training right around 3 p.m. as long as it's not, long endurance ride. But yeah, now I don't really mind. But for sure, I get out, in the morning after breakfast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Okay, when it's raining, which is pretty rare around here, as you can see, it's a pretty sunny day. Weather's rubbish. Do you get on the trainer or do you just go out in the rain?
Depends on the weather.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean like the temperature.
Yeah, okay.
So it depends on the temperature. If it's pretty cold, I'll just hit the trainer. I don't mind it too much. Coming from Canada, I've used it much before, so it's not something that's too foreign to me. But
I'd say there's some days there it doesn't really matter how tough you are. It's not actually possible to ride outside.
And like okay, you've got good clothing and stuff, but once you're like drenched and you're super cold, like wet,
and when the snow's sitting on the road, there's
not
much riding you can actually do.
So yeah.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Okay, when you're training, do you take any stops or no stops until you finish the ride?
With people, I really don't mind stopping. I actually enjoy it. But on my own, I'm like, elapsed time is probably the same as like ride time. So I just kind of like plow through it, eat on the go, drink on the go, almost like refill my bottle while I'm moving and just kind of
just get it done.
Yeah, I just roll with it. So
Yep. Okay, what's your favorite food while you're training?
Oh, Amex nougat, I think.
The nougat. Oh yeah,
that's good.
That is incredible. And if you stop at a boulangerie, then what are you getting?
Ooh, I really like the croissant with the pâte d'amande. So like almond kind of feel like chocolate, croissant. That's kind of my go-to.
Yeah,
I'd say.
You can get some really good ones of those around here.
Yeah, or a flan. Like they have some pretty good ones.
Yeah,
it's kind of standard.
Yeah. No, there's no shortage of good options around here.
It's endless.
Yeah. So speaking of food while you're training, do you do any low carb training or are you always well fueled now?
No, always well fueled. It just feels so much better. I mean, you adjust the amount of carbs obviously depending on the intensity of the training, but I pretty much even like easy rides, I'll always have like some sort of bar or drink mix or something in my bottles. Did
you do low carb in the past or? It's just...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've tried even like just bottles like protein powder. Just like tried all sorts of things. Like probably most of us did. You just try
it's a pretty common story now.
Stuff.
Like, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any pro that hasn't done it at some point, unless they're really new to the sport, because I think it was fashionable. But yeah, now it just seems like less and less you see people actually doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so off the bike now, and we were sort of just talking about what you can do after the injury, but do you do cross training and anything that you do off the bike, and how often do you use that?
Yeah, we do a lot of strength training for sure.
Yep.
Off the bike, you do the same. I mean, in the winter, it's like, twice a week, 3 times a week, maybe, but mostly like also core mobility
Yep.
before riding. And something I've been trying to do is just like keep the strength training going throughout the season as well.
Yep.
As more like maintenance, obviously, not really gaining much, but yeah, I do love. I kind of like any outdoor sports or activities. To be honest.
You seem to go on a few hikes with Simone as well, especially in the off season.
So I can't say like I do it that much, especially in the season.
Yeah.
But for sure, off season, whether we're up in the mountains in Canada or what, skiing. Whether it's cross country skiing, downhill skiing.
Yeah, I think
hiking, mountain biking. So
any Canadian has to know how to ski from birth. I think you just go into the room on skis.
Yeah,
so.
Either hockey or skiing, one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And then last question is, what would be the best piece of advice, training-wise, that you'd give to anyone? Or the best piece that you've received, either way.
Yeah, I think we focus a lot on the training, but if you're not recovering from the training that you're just doing, well, you probably won't be able to do the next one and the next one. And so actually, I think I would just say make sure you're recovering properly from whatever training you're doing and the stimulus you're trying to achieve. And then you'll set yourself up for, a solid block. And the key, for me at least, I find, is just consistency, You could be hitting insane numbers, doing one-offs, and hitting crazy power numbers. But if you're not consistent with it and you're always either getting sick or stuff like that, here I am, I'm the one talking, having all sorts of health issues and stuff. But yeah, my advice is just to be consistent with it and make sure you're recovering properly and just string together many good training sessions.
Yeah, it's a big one. I say always, I think people forget that the training is the intervention, but the adaptation actually occurs during the recovery. So that's, the training is something that you add into what you're doing, but the recovery is where you're actually going to get better. So it's a big one for people to remember, and it's the most important piece of the puzzle.
Eat all the carbs, all the fuel you can get.
Yeah, exactly.
Important.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for coming on. Hope people learnt a little bit more about you and a little bit more about what you're facing at the moment, what you're recovering from. All the best with the recovery, and I'm sure I'll be out for a ride with you soon.
For sure. Cheers, man.
Cheers.